So if we're going to say God is good, and we're going to say people are good, and we're going to say thoughts create our experiences, and we're going to say prayer affords us connection, and we're going to say that action is needed because you will know them by their fruits, faith without works is dead. If we're going to say this, then we're invited to a completely different level of how we show up. What do I truly believe in? Because whatever I believe in is what's going to show up in my life. How is my daily practice impacting the world? How am I being a beneficial presence in the world? Like, that's the question we could all ask every morning, every evening. Today, before I go to sleep, in what way did I make the world a better place? Even if it was one person. It doesn't have to be, some grand, I must be like. No. Do what is yours to do in the way that it is yours to do it, and the impact that there is only one mind, and that mind is God. There is only one life, and that life is God. And anything that Reverend Ogan prays about anything affects everything. Anything that I meditate, peace, well-being for my life. That's my meditation for today. But there is no my life separate from your life. So when I am meditating for my own health and well-being, the energy of that, which exists within the all-encompassing allness, affects everyone in the same way that if I, not that I do this, but if I overspritz myself with cologne and give you a hug and we separate and you're halfway home, you still smell me. Because the meditation, the prayer, the love, the energy is contagious in that way. So we do nothing that does not impact. But the invitation is to consciously, proactively engage our spiritual practice to say, what am I effectively doing right here and right now to change my paradigms, my consciousness, and that of those around me, in terms of how it affects and how it shows up and manifests as the infection of racism, sexism, homophobia, xenophobia, etc. Because if I'm not doing anything about any of that within myself, then what am I really doing? Right? So the invitation is to actively engage in our practice. This idea of rugged individualism, it's become far too easy for rugged individualism to simply mean that's not my problem. That's not my practice. You're supposed to focus on the good and only the good. You're supposed to focus on what you're for, not what you're against. Okay? Oh, and let's not forget the pick yourself up by your own metaphysical bootstraps. See, that's not unity. That's not togetherness. That's isolation and separation. I do me, you do you. And yet, did Yeshua not teach us a very important lesson in the story of the Good Samaritan, where this person is robbed and beaten and left at the side of the road for dead, and many of the pious people, the religious, the sanctimonious people looked and walked away and said, it's not my business. Until this person who felt their spiritual imperative say, yeah, this is my business. This is my business. It's not the whole Cain and Abel thing of, I am my brother's keeper. I am my sister's keeper. I am my non-gender conforming siblings' keeper, but I am them. They are me. There is only one. There is only one. So what exactly are we doing? See, Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. says in Letters from a Birmingham Jail, I must make two honest confessions to you, my Christian and Jewish brothers. First, I must confess that over the last few years, I have been gravely disappointed with the white moderate. I have almost reached the regrettable conclusion that the Negro's great stumbling block in the stride towards freedom is not the white citizens' counselor or the KKK, but rather it is the white moderate who is more devoted to order than to justice, who prefers a negative peace, which is the absence of tension, to a positive peace, which is the presence of justice. The one who constantly says, I agree with you in the goal that you seek, but I cannot agree with your methods. I cannot agree with your methods. The actions you are taking, I cannot agree. Who feel that they can set a timetable for another man's freedom. Just be patient and wait. The one who lives by the myth of time, who constantly advises the Negro to wait until a more convenient season. And he goes on. So if you're not familiar with the letter, I invite you to read it, because the idea is same thing Gandhi said when he said, when I despair, I remember that all throughout history, the way of truth and love has always won and prevailed. There have been tyrants and murderers, and for a time, they seem to be invincible and untouchable, but in the end, they always fall. Think of it, always. Now, for me, I want us to renew New Thought to such a degree that we have elevated all of those people who are infected by the infection, the disease, the malware of, I must be a tyrant, I must be a dictator, I must be, so that we are creating the container in which the group consciousness, the collective consciousness that embraces all. So no child need experience bullying and othering because of a speech impediment, or because it's a single parent household, or whatever it is, because we are so enveloped in the concept and the consciousness of it takes a village to raise a child, and we're all someone's children. So in the same way that King is saying, don't be, in the Bible, it says, be hot or be cold. Don't do this lukewarm thing. King is saying that moderate, that lukewarm, that I'm not taking a stand, I'm not taking a stance, I have no position other than, as he called it, the negative piece. This idea of, just, don't rock the boat. Don't rock the boat. Don't trouble the waters. And yet it is precisely in the troubled waters that healing occurs. It is precisely the agitator in the washing machine that washes the clothes. So if we're going to have new thought and renewed new thought, then we are invited to a whole new level of active engagement in our teaching, our philosophy, not just in our heads, not just in our hearts, but in our bodies, in our hands, in our feet, in our pews and chairs, in our sanctuaries and classrooms, in our town halls and school boards, and